Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a Tuesday afternoon, getting right into it here with Brian Baldinger of NFL Network, the All-City NFL podcast, Mr. Ubiquity as it comes to football this time of year. Baldy, thank you for joining us, and I think you know that the mood here is a little bit frothing at the mouth after the disastrous performance against the Arizona Cardinals. I guess my first question to you, when you watch the film of that game, are you angrier at the defense for the complete ineptitude, giving up 4 touchdowns on 4 drives in the second half? Or are you a little bit more flummoxed with the offense, turtling at the end, knowing that the defense is playing as badly as it is and not really going for the jugular there?
Well, I announced the game, so seeing it live and just seeing the crowd's disdain for that level of football, and then watching it, it was actually worse watching it and studying it than it was actually seeing it live, because the ineptitude on defense is at every level. It's tackling, it's linebacking play, it's assignment football. I mean, it's on every level. It looks broken. I'm pretty good friends with Mark Dalton, who used to be with the Eagles. He's the PR director for the Cardinals. I texted him after the game. I go, when was the last time the Cardinals didn't punt in a game? And he said it's only the second time in 60 years that the Cardinals played a game and didn't punt. Like, nobody would want that on their resume, but the Eagles have it on the resume. So to answer your question, Bo, I would say I'm the disdain I have for the defense is it's just, it's not NFL quality defense at all. And they've got major issues, and they can change coordinators. They can do a lot of stuff, but that looks like a broken side of the football right now.
I just finished speaking to Matt Patricia, and he said that it's starting with the run defense this week, and that's the big focus. As you're announcing it and as you watched it back, what's the biggest issue with this run defense?
Well, you have to decide if you're going to stay blocked, Zach, or if you're going to get off a block. Like, it starts with defeating blocks. And then once you make that decision that you're not going to be blocked, because you have that decision to defeat blocks, there's a lot of different techniques to do it. But once you decide you're going to not be blocked, then it's a question of, do you want to tackle or not tackle? Because the tackling was atrocious. So you can say run fits. I mean, that's what Matt would say, like our run fits had to be better. Shaq Leonard's got to be here, and the run fits are bad, and where the safeties fit in. And like, that's walk through stuff. That's technical stuff. But really, it comes down to defeating blocks and wanting to tackle. And the Eagles look like they didn't want to do either one of them on Sunday.
We talk about whether this defensive coordinator switch mattered. Obviously, it seems to have backfired. Not that this performance is all on Matt Patricia, but one thing we did see in this game, Baldy, they leaned into those 5-man fronts in this game, right? And we know that they're light at linebacker. Maybe that's part of the reason there, but it allowed Hassan Reddick to have to drop so many times in this game, which Zach wrote about in his story after the game. Yeah. His season high in terms of him dropping. The most talented player on your defense, you're not getting the most out of him. But if you were trying to get inside, Matt Patricia's mind, what would be the reason behind leaning into those 5-man fronts in this game?
Well, that was the answer last year when teams were running the football against them. They played a 5-man defensive front. TJ Edwards was basically the linebacker. They played 5-man front because Arizona was running the ball against them. And you kind of go there and go, okay, we'll just go head up and we'll just take all the holes away right here, and we'll defeat you at the point of attack. And they still got moved. I mean, Paris Johnson and the whole group, Hernandez and Froholt. I mean, they moved them off the ball. So I thought that's why he probably went to the 5-man defense front. I'm with you, Zach. I'm watching, Hassan, dropping the coverage, and well, if that's the case, then flip Hassan to the other side, or whatever. But whatever you got to do. But they don't do that. So, but that's the downside. Is if they're going to throw it, then you're going to get Hassan basically buzzing out into coverage and, defending the flat out there like he was when they're not running it. And so that's the downside to it.
In speaking about the tackling, I framed it to Patricia in such a way that they have these walkthroughs on Wednesdays. It's week 17 of the season. Or it's week 18 now. They're barely practicing at this point. They really haven't had a regular practice cadence in terms of working on fundamentals. And he agreed that's not something you can really do much this time of year. So how do you fix it? He talked about things with tackling dummies and focusing on technique, but is this something Eagles fans just need to live with here going into the postseason?
Well, I wouldn't live with it. I wouldn't use
Yeah.
that as an excuse. Like it makes me sick. Like I think Lori was sick watching the effort. This is just effort, Zach. There's certain, like, for example, if you're on the Michael Carter bounce to the outside, I don't know if that was Eli Ricks right there,
Yes.
whoever it was, at the corner. You got to shoot for the outside leg. You can't let him bounce outside on you. You turn him into all your help. Avonte Maddox was awful on Sunday, but like he hadn't played in forever. Like I expected him to be rusty. And so I think Avonte will be better this week, but his tackling was atrocious. The angles were bad. He was leaving his feet, but he hasn't played in 3 months. I don't know. They wanted him back in the worst way, and I don't blame them. It's been a big void in this defense. But, you got to know where your help is at. You got to stay on your feet. You got to keep your head up. There's just things that you can do, that you have to be able to do, just to be able to get on the field and stay on the field this league.
And I feel like we ask you about this every week now, Baldy, but what happened to this defensive line?
Well, it's clear that Jordan Davis is out of shape. Like, I don't know what they find him, Zach. You're in there every day. Like, I don't know what they find him every week, but I got to believe he's getting money taken from him. He's overweight, and it shows. Like, he's not pursuing the football. He's nothing in the pass rush. So that's one. So if he's going to play with that effort and be overweight like that, then you say, okay, well, they're a man short in the rotation. Fletcher's playing too much. Because he's not effective right now. They need another guy inside in their defensive tackle rotation. I'm not sure why he keeps dressing. He's been ineffective.
Wow.
When the plays are going on, he is basically walking on the field. It's bad effort. But guys are getting blocked right now up front, and pass rush is about technique. It's about getting on the edge. It's about stunts. It's about different ways to get guys free. And look, Arizona did get rid of the ball quickly. Kyler is extremely athletic and mobile, as we know. So he's a difficult guy to get down, but still, he escaped too many times on Sunday.
I want to follow up on that because in these 3 games under Patricia, they've had 4 sacks, right? And that's not the way this defense is built. And whenever I ask about it, I hear that same excuse that the quarterback's getting rid of the ball quickly. Does that carry water? Is there a rush and cover element to this? Are there opportunities that they're not taking advantage of? How do you see it as far as the pass rush?
Well, I think, pass rush always marries coverage, Zach. So, you talk to the great elite pass rushers in the league, whether it was Hassan or Nick or Max Crosby, whoever. They'll tell you that, look, I have a much better chance of affecting the quarterback if he has to hold the ball an extra tick. And so coverage and jump, taking away Trey McBride, their number 1 receiver, whatever it is, taking that away and forcing the quarterback to go to the second or to the third option, you have a much better chance of hitting the quarterback and affecting the quarterback. So I do think those 2 things do marry together. And I do think at times the coverage is too soft and it's too easy for the quarterback to make first read decisions.
Let's talk about the offense for a minute, Baldy. I think my big picture question here is, we know what they did on 1st and 20 there, game on the line. They're going quarterback run, then a read option, and then the give up screen to Kenny Gainwell. There are times in the red zone when they just are not willing to throw the ball. Do you think they trust Jalen enough?
I don't know. AJ Brown would tell you better trust him. Like you're making me invisible out here, and you could just tell, like he's ticked. Like I just didn't understand the hitch. None of the fans did either. The fans are smart. They know what's going on. Like why wouldn't you? This is the worst. They've got nothing but rookies out there playing on the corners, and they never really attacked them. I know Devontae dropped one down the field, and he can make that catch. you could make it a little bit better throw. He had the corner beat. But, they got rookies out there playing in the corners, and they really didn't attack him, I didn't think, the way I think they're capable of attacking him. And so that last throw on the hitch screen, that's just a hope and a prayer that you get enough linemen out there, you pick guys off. it's a real hit or miss play. I'd feel a lot better about, they got down there because of A.J. Brown on a slant route where they gave him the slant, and he picks up 20. I'd feel a lot better if I was, calling a play up for A.J. Brown in that situation.
Yeah, in AJ's case, 1 target in the second half. I think 10 pass attempts for Jalen Hurts. What's the film showing you there? Are there opportunities where they need to get the ball to AJ? Is it a matter of defenses focusing on him?
Well, they didn't have the ball a lot, Zach. Number one. Arizona played keep away. They had long drives and long, drives that were long possessions. So they didn't have the ball a lot. I always think, if you got a star player like A.J. Brown, I don't care if you have the ball 10 plays in the whole half. You have chances to get your star player the ball, you get him the ball. I just don't think you don't have to overthink this. There's a lot of different ways to do it. There's bunch formations, there's, motions. There's all kinds of things you can do to get AJ loose and to get him free. So they just have to make a concerted effort to do it.
So Baldy, any hope for the playoffs? Do you think there's any chance they can turn this thing around?
They looked, well, I think there is a chance. I still think they can be a good power running football team. I think there's people in that building that don't believe that's the way to win titles. Kansas City looks like they're doing it that way. Buffalo looks like they're doing it that way. Baltimore's been doing it that way. San Francisco runs more than they throw it. I just think they have to get rid of these analytics and just go, this is the best thing that we have. Let Landon Dickerson and Jordan Mailata just move people. Let, Juergens and Kelsey, let these guys move the line of scrimmage and let them win it old-fashioned. Become a power running football team. They activated Rashad Penny for a reason, I think, and then he didn't play. So that's what I would like. I would go test it against the Giants this week. I'd go become and morph into a power running football team against the Giants. If you throw it against Wink Martindale, he's going to hit you. He hit Matt Stafford last week, and we'll see what happens. But he's going to get guys free to the quarterback. It's just, if you can make him pay, you can make him pay. But I'd go up there to MetLife Stadium and pound the football, because I think if they got to go to Tampa, they can beat Tampa. I think they can. We'll see if they can control Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans, but I think they can beat Tampa. I wouldn't put them against I wouldn't make them favorites against any other team at this point right now, the way they're playing and the attitude that they're playing with. I wouldn't make them favorites against any other team.
On that note, there's a lot of conversation in this city right now about Nick Sirianni. What's your read on the way this team is responding to him? I know you're not in that room per se, but he is the head coach. He's the one delivering that message. What are you seeing and hearing in that regard?
Well, look, you can listen to you have to listen to these press conferences every day. It's lip service at this point. Nothing's changing. He said after the game, like he said after the game before, we got to get this fixed and we got to get it fixed now. Okay. Well, it didn't seem like there was any urgency in getting it fixed. Okay. And so it starts with, have they tuned Nick out? I don't know. Is the message getting through? I don't know. The performance isn't getting any better. And so, they did beat the Giants, and maybe nobody seemed too excited about beating the Giants on that sideline. So to answer your question, I think there's a real question mark about Nick right now. I like Nick. I think everybody does and respects him, but you've got to light a fire under this football team right now. And that's the head coach's job. He doesn't call plays. He doesn't do a lot of game day, but that's his job, to get these guys coming out of the tunnel ready to play. Whatever they got to do during the week, whatever that is, put the pads on and go 9-on-7, whatever it is, he's got to make a change, I think, in the way that he's coaching this team for this team to change. And so that's all on Nick right now.
Well, it's certainly something that we will be following over the course of the next couple weeks. Baldy, thank you so much for your time. We'll talk to you next week when we have a playoff game to talk about, but who knows if the vibes will be any better.
Yeah, well, we've got, the good thing about football, Bo, is we live in 7-day life cycles and things can change in an instant. Maybe next week at this time, we'll be talking a little bit more positive about this team.
Zach likes to say every week is a season. You are a man after his own heart.
Yes. Take care, guys. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Baldy. All right, Baldy with some fire that we will unpack here, Zach. But first, you need to tell us about Rocket Money.
Yes, let me tell you about Rocket Money because it's January 2nd now. And so you probably were getting emails during the past 24 hours of some of your subscriptions, maybe auto
a lot of
renew.
rollovers, yeah.
Yeah, the rollovers, whether maybe it was a monthly, maybe it was an annual, or you're setting your budget for the year and you forget that you have these subscriptions. And so what do you do about them? Did you find any subscriptions that you forgot about or any that you paid for twice and you didn't realize it? Well, Rocket Money can cancel that subscription for you. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower bills. You can see all of your subscriptions in one place, and if you see something that you don't want, you can cancel it with a tap. It doesn't even need 2 taps.
That's right.
I never have to get on the phone with customer service. I like talking to people, but come on, we don't need to go down the whole customer service rabbit hole here.
I feel like you kind of do want that, though.
They'll even try to get you a refund for the last couple of months of wasted money and negotiate to lower your bills for you by up to 20%. This is music to my ears here. I like to save money and I like to lower my bills. I like to negotiate. This is all these great things in one. All you have to do is take a picture of your bill and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. I received an email the other day asking for our promo code because they heard this and they forgot the promo code. So listen to this. Stop wasting your money on things you don't use. Cancel those unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. That's rocketmoney.com/PHLY. I'll say it one more time. rocketmoney.com/PHLY.
And what do you do with the money you saved from Rocket Money? You spend it on events. You spend it on tickets, baby. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting pumped up, hyped for the fun you're going to have. They've got flash deals and last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area, images of seat views, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Somebody was texting or reaching out to Zach for the PHLY promo code on Game Time on Sunday, last minute. Beautiful. The Game Time guarantee means you will always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. That means you're making money. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account and redeem with code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Zach, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here. It's the new year. It's playoff time is approaching.
Disappointed to learn no basketball game for you last night on a Monday night.
No, New Year's Day. They were off New Year's Day, back next Monday.
Feels like, a good way to sweat off the hangover would have been a nice Monday night game.
I mean, maybe, perhaps for others. I wasn't hungover. I woke up yesterday excited to, well, I shouldn't say excited to, but ready to review the film and review the numbers and tweet out the snap counts in my story a number of times. And yeah,
your fingers were hungover from all that typing.
My fingers love typing, so yeah. So
your fingers hurt, now your back's gonna hurt.
I was ready to get rolling.
All right. What would you like to talk about?
How are you, by the way?
I'm good. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to all the listeners. You had a good time.
Do you watch the ball drop?
No.
No, you're not. Okay, that's not. You're not. You're at that point in your life now where the ball dropping doesn't do much for you.
Correct. I'm not a child.
Okay. So what do you do when the clock strikes midnight?
I think I was hoping to be asleep, but
really,
yeah.
Okay.
Does that surprise you?
I mean, I think New Year's Eve, most people want to
I mean, I was
midnight.
in bed, but I think I was probably like staring at my phone watching I guess that Packers game was still not over, or I guess it
No,
had
it,
just
it,
ended.
it had finished.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not tuning on like Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve. I got sleep to try to get.
Fair enough.
I don't know. How about you? Were you up?
Yes. So I set a midnight deadline for myself, and because I wanted to get that story up.
1 o'clock game. You're pushing it all the way to midnight.
I wanted to get that story up before 2023 turned into 2024, and I
Gotta
posted.
get those numbers.
I still kind of operate under, although I probably would have waited until 2024 so
Yeah.
you can juice the system that way.
Because you would have beat your goals.
Exactly.
So you wanted to yeah, there you go.
So no, I posted that
Little
story.
metrics dashboard inside baseball for all you sickos.
I posted that story about 11:53, and then at midnight.
And did you celebrate when the ball dropped, Zach? Did you toast with your wife?
She was sleeping at that point. But yeah, I did wake her up and say Happy New Year.
You
And
woke
then-
her up?
And then I woke up I went to see my 2 kids in their rooms and I said Happy New Year to both
You
of them.
woke them up from sleeping
Well,
at midnight to say Happy New Year?
Yeah, I went in and I said Happy New Year to both of them. Yeah. I mean,
Like, did you wrestle them awake?
I didn't wrestle them awake. It was
Were
one of those
they
things-
awake?
It was one of those like they're awake but still kind of in their sleep type things. You know, I told them both I was going to tell them when it was the new year.
Okay. All right. Well, at least you talked that over with them.
Oh yeah, I
Emily
didn't-
could not have been happy about that
No, she was fine about that. Yeah, she was.
because she was sleeping.
No, I mean, I was excited. I said, let's make this the best year yet, right? So that's honestly what I said. Yes.
This is wild stuff.
Well, I mean,
Hey, wake up.
It's the new year.
Let's make this the best year yet. Like, how about just let me sleep? You could tell me this at 5:30 in the morning when we're both going to be awake.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for the new year for sure.
I mean, we have so much to talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about.
We've got Fletcher Cox coming up in a
Yes.
little bit. The Eagles are on fire. There is so much to discuss, and all I want to do is unpack this more. How could you set this is like a trap you're setting for me?
No,
all I want to
let's-
do is talk about you, like sounding the air horn in your room in your house because the clock has dropped midnight, and
It's
like waking
literally-
everybody up.
It's literally a new year. Like you're
It's
so
nothing.
ready. You're so yes it is. When it goes from 11:59 to midnight, all of a sudden here you are.
I've also been meaning to ask you about all of a sudden.
Why? Is this a phrase?
Is that
I use?
is that a Philly thing? Is that a Montreal thing? What is the etymology of all of a sudden?
Is that not a phrase you use?
Well, it's not English. All of a
chat, help
sudden?
me out here.
All
Julia,
of a sudden.
is this a phrase that you hear? Yes. Okay.
All
so
of a
maybe-
sudden?
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden.
Chat, chime in, please. Is this a phrase that
Hey, wake up. All of a sudden, it's 2024.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I don't know. Let's talk Eagles.
All right.
Let's talk Eagles.
Zach, a lot of things have happened since you and I were in the studio together at the same time. Obviously, what happened on Sunday in the loss to the Cardinals. Nick Sirianni spoke on Monday. You talked to the coordinators today, all three of them. What are the main takeaways for you?
Yeah, so let's unpack that penultimate drive on offense because
Okay.
this is one that is rightfully getting a lot of attention. And Brian Johnson came ready for this question here. Okay, so he did say that the second running play was a great play by Buda Baker there, and that's something that they've actually run to success in the past. He mentioned they've had 15-yard gains on that, 13-yard gains on that, and he said Buda Baker made a great play. Okay, now we can quibble, and I
So
would.
just quickly, Merriam-Webster says there is no all of a sudden. It's a common mistake. It's one of those things that is growing in usage, but is not correct.
Okay, but the chat is like, this isn't a phrase that I made up.
Oh yeah, I don't think you're the
Okay.
only one you're not the
No,
only
you said
one
I need
who
to
said
ask
it.
you about all of a sudden, as if I'm the president of the all of a
Well, you're
sudden
the only one
community.
in.
Okay.
I've heard it and
Okay.
let it go unremarked upon, but
Okay, all right, fair enough. You could have asked me after the show.
I could have. Yeah.
But sure, Here, all
Don't
of a sudden-
change who you are. I mean,
Yeah, it's one of these
like
phrases I heard growing up.
It's like, literally is all of a sudden doesn't mean literally anymore. This is language evolves.
So what would you use to describe how I use all of a sudden? What do you use?
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden. And all of a sudden. Okay, that's fair. I'll start using all of a sudden.
You don't have to.
No, that's fine.
Suddenly.
And suddenly, sure.
Sudfeld.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
Yeah, I will start saying suddenly or all of a sudden. Yes.
You don't have to. Language changes.
Oh, I want to be correct.
Let's not be prescriptive. Let's be descriptive.
I'm on a constant quest for self-improvement. So if this is a way that I can improve my speaking, then sign me up for that.
Okay.
For sure. That's part of 2024 being a new year and a new opportunity.
Famously, last year, your New Year's resolution, which Emily wanted you to do, was to be kinder to yourself. I think we started off well there, maybe got off track as the year went on.
I can say I did not do well in that.
What's the goal for 2024?
To be healthier.
Okay.
To sleep better, eat better, take care of myself better. Yeah, I mean, I'm 37, turning 38. I'm not a college student anymore, right?
Ancient for an athlete, but young for a writer.
Oh, sure. I have a long way in front of me as a writer and as a podcast host.
Okay.
Yes, co-host. So let's get back to that.
So are we brushing to the side? Be kinder to yourself, or can we still try? Can I? Still try
that's something that is always kind of look. But I also don't want to lose my edge. I think I came to the resolution, or not the. I think I came to the conclusion that by being kinder, if I was kinder to myself, then I might lose the edge that I think helps drive me. Right. So the fact that
I'm gonna have to
by the way,
that.
The show I thought I had a bad show last Friday. I agree with that. The Gannon show. Or last Thursday, right?
Why? I didn't think so.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was a good performance. And then
I thought that was a good show out of you.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't think so. But then in the chat, I'm sorry, not in the chat, in the YouTube comment section, there were some like tough comments, and there was a response to the person that's saying, Zach's going to read this. Why don't you write that? But the person said that I brought a knife to a gunfight about Gannon, and I agree. I was not.
I thought you were good.
No, but I did think for a fun off-season segment would be like me reading all the comments one day.
Oh, jeez.
Just and like dissecting the merit to that comment. Anyways, the penultimate drive. Let's get back to that.
Well, I also think that the. I know that there's so much to talk about. This is ridiculous this show is going off the rails. However, I think that being kinder to yourself is part of being healthier.
Mm-mm.
The more you drag yourself through the mud and rake yourself over the coals and read all these comments, the less time you're able to spend sleeping and doing the things that would make you healthy.
I thought you were about to say that the less time I could spend on my work, because I promise you it's not taking away from any time at work.
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah. It's probably taking away from like sleep time. It's
sleep time, workout time.
Sure.
Yeah, it's affecting your mental health probably to some degree.
Perhaps.
These are all important things.
Yeah. Perhaps. All right. It's something I'll consider. Okay. But while I consider that, let's talk about the penultimate drive here.
Yeah, that terrible drive.
So that second play, he said they've busted it loose a few times. It's a play that's worked well for them, and Budda Baker made a nice play on it. Now, let's circle back to that in a minute. The third down play, I think, is one that's getting a lot of attention, and this was interesting here. He basically said that when you're in those situations, you're operating with three things in mind. Obviously, the down and distance, the clock, and then the field goal line that they had. So when all of a sudden suddenly it's a 3-4 yard loss on that Hurts run, and now you're in 3rd and 19, and I wasn't on the field. I was in the press box, but apparently it was a real swirling wind that they had a certain line that they felt they had to get to for Jake Elliott. And they they wanted to call a play that would allow them to get to that line and not get sacked and effectively take points off the board. They said before the holding penalty, when it was 1st and 10.
That is so pathetic.
I agree with you. And I broke down some of the numbers. And when they've actually been aggressive in these 3rd and long situations.
This is really interesting. This is a good stat.
They've had passes with air yards of greater than 7 yards. And the reason I say greater than 7 yards is because it went from 7 to 15, right? So I could have said greater than 10 yards. But so essentially when they've thrown it downfield, when they've been aggressive, they've done that 5 times on 3rd downs of 15 yards or longer. They've converted 3 of those 5.
Now, there's probably some selection bias there, right? Because you're only going to throw it downfield, presumably if the guy is open, or you're more likely to throw it downfield if there is something open. But still, you're going for it.
And you're giving your guys a chance. The play of the game the week before against the Giants was a 3rd and 20 conversion.
Exactly.
Where they gave AJ a chance.
Literally the play that won them the game.
Yes. So there's in that situation, they were fixated on making sure they came out of that drive with points. It was a very good question from Olivia Reiner from the Inquirer that do you account for what the defense has done to that point, right? The defense has allowed touchdowns, I think, on 3 drives to that point in the second half.
Right, 3 for 3 at that point.
Yes. So he said that's not a question for him to answer. This was kind of what the plan was for offense, which makes me think this came from Nick Sirianni.
And it's the same thing he did in the Super Bowl when he didn't go for it on 4th and 3 deep in his own territory. It's the same thing he did not going for it on 4th down against the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to how much your defense is struggling and adjust. The defense sucks. If the defense was mediocre or the 20th best defense in football, the Eagles would be the 2 seed, right? But the offense needs to be great because of that. And they're not letting them be great. They're not giving them a chance. They're 8th in offensive DVOA or whatever they are. They're good, but everything is a struggle, and they don't trust. It's like they don't trust their talent, and they don't trust Jalen. And in that situation, your boy Jonathan Gannon outcoached Sirianni with that onside kick, right? Because he baited Sirianni into being conservative there, which I think we have talked about is probably his nature. And I'm sorry, you're scared. You got to get 5 more yards for Jake Elliott, the guy who was the most trustworthy player on the whole team. And if he misses a field goal, fine. This is a terrible 3-12 Cardinals team that is incentivized to lose the game. Go beat them. And if you can't trust your offense to do it, then the playoffs don't matter. If they're not willing to let the offense carry them, there is no upside for the season.
You're right, and this ties into a few different discussions, including the A.J. Brown discussion, which is, as you just said, trust your best players to make plays. And I think there's all this speculation about what's A.J. frustrated about, and I can't read his mind, but my guess, and I suppose I'm guilty here of speculating, is that, and this is kind of parsing together what I've heard and public comments from Nick Sirianni, is that AJ is a game-changing player who wants to be given the opportunity to change plays. He wants the ball in high-leverage situations here, right? This is not to take away from Kenny Gainwell, but you should not look at the stat sheet after a loss and see that AJ Brown has only 1 more target than Kenny Gainwell, and that in the in the second half of a game, AJ Brown's targeted once on 10 passes. So 10% of your passes right there. AJ Brown needs to be involved in close games. AJ Brown, as Baldy said before, was involved in their most productive. The only pass to him was their most productive play.
And it was so easy.
Yeah. So I'm not sitting here saying this is like Madden and you could just click X and throw it to AJ Brown. But there is a part of me that says when you need to make a play, you have a $100 million receiver, you have a $250 million quarterback. Why don't you trust these guys who are here for this reason to make the plays in that situation?
And Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert.
Yes, exactly.
What are we doing? And I think it was Tashawn Reed from The Athletic who was framing it this way early in the Raiders season about Devontae Adams. And I thought it was framed exactly right. Devontae Adams was very upset with how things were going on offense. And it's not because he wants the ball so that he gets the ball. It's because this is a hyper-competitive guy who wants more than anything to win.
Yep.
And he knows that their best chance on offense to win is to give him the ball.
Exactly.
Right? And so it's the same thing with A.J. Brown and the same thing with Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. Yeah. Of course they're upset that the offensive scheme seems so vanilla and so predictable because they should be so much better.
Now, let me ask you this. And this is looking at that whole sequence there. One thing Sirianni mentioned yesterday when we spoke to him was that he was thinking about, or on his mind, was the Washington game when they scored too quickly and Washington went down and scored.
Yeah.
And he said that
It's a totally different situation.
That didn't affect what they did there, but he said you are managing the clock in that situation. Do you think that has merit to it? You say it's a totally different situation.
Yeah, it was a different situation. What was it? They were up 1 and then they scored a touchdown to go up 8. Is that what? Or no? What was it?
No, I think it was tied.
It was tied.
It was tied because they scored a touchdown, then Washington went down and tied it.
Right, but there was less time left. Right, there was a chance for a first down. They could have
ended the game with the ball in their hands.
Right,
there.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, they were not yet at that stage.
Arizona
of the game.
had 3 timeouts in this situation.
Yeah,
and it was before the 2-minute warning.
Yeah,
so
go score a touchdown.
Yeah,
yeah.
So I found that to be interesting from Brian Johnson.
Okay. Meanwhile, the defense.
Yeah. So
let's
not let Matt Patricia off the hook here. Matt Patricia. He said their focus is the run defense right now. That's what really needs to be fixed. He gave Arizona credit for running some concepts that might have given them some problems. He talked about eyes and run fits, things like that. I asked him about the tackling because I thought the tackling was a part of it too. You can talk about scheme and whatnot, but you got to make tackles. And
I think the guys on the Eagle Eye and the Sky podcast, Fran and Cosell, talked like it was like by far their most missed tackles of the season.
Yes. And I'm sick of hearing, that's a little strong, but I'm sick of hearing the adjective uncharacteristic.
Yeah.
If you continue to use uncharacteristic in week 18 or week 17 of an NFL season, I have a news that's characteristic at that point. Like, that's who you are.
Yes.
If you were this great tackling team through 3 months.
Well, there's also this, like, for them, the run defense, there's this crazy flip side from the first half of the season to the second half of the season. Like, yeah, would that have been uncharacteristic in week 7? Yeah. Not anymore.
Sure. And then it was brought up by Ruben Frank from NBC Sports Philly, the second halves of these last 3 games under Patricia, games that Patricia has overseen. And he says he has to look at it's a good question. You have to look at adjustments and counter adjustments and things of that nature. What's the other team doing? You're reacting. And it did come to mind that actually that was the strong suit, if you will, of Sean Desai. That's what we were praising Sean Desai for in some of these games earlier this year when they held teams scoreless in the second half, was the adjustments he was making. And he was asked, I keep referencing the reporter asking the question. I don't need to always do that, but he was asked yesterday by Dave Zangaro. Nick Sirianni was asked yesterday by Dave Zangaro of NBC Sports Philly if he regrets making the change to Patricia. And of course, Sirianni said no, the change had to be made at that time. But I do think this is, and this is not to take away from Patricia per se. This is frankly on Sirianni or the organization. I think it was a reaction. It was a overreaction in that moment. It was a move made in that moment to something they were seeing, and it wasn't getting at the problem. It was as you wrote that day. It was kind of done just like to throw something at the wall almost.
Well, and it has obviously backfired.
Yes,
right.
It's not his defense either. I saw Albert Breer from. I don't mean to cut you off. But I saw a national column from Albert Breer at Sports Illustrated. It's basically saying, like, Patricia's in a tough spot calling someone else's defense here. Like, this is what they did.
Right.
This is what they did. They chose a guy.
Right. Either don't give me that explanation or don't give him the job.
Exactly.
Like, you can't have it both ways.
Yes.
And we joked about it not even joked. We talked about it at the time. Like, it seemed especially unfair to Desai, aside from like the shenanigans and the charade of moving him up into the booth and keeping him in the building, that like you did this after playing the tough part of the schedule, and now you give Patricia the Seahawks and the Giants and the Cardinals and the Giants again to like make it look good, and it's even worse.
It's even worse. And those first 2
they
games
give up a 92-yard touchdown drive to Drew Lock at the end of the game. Tyrod Taylor leads the Giants on a comeback in the second half. And then Kyler Murray, who's fine, but the rest of the offense, which is not good, has like the best offensive performance of the NFL season against them. Like,
you're absolutely right. And Patricia was asked today about basically calling someone else's defense. And he said that when they put it in, it was like the Eagles scheme, and he's addressed this before. Patricia has a 2-decade track record in the NFL, not calling this defense, right? Not like running this type of defense. And the Eagles particularly wanted Sean Desai, in part because of his mind, but also in part because of his background in this like Vic Fangio style defense. So this has been fascinating to see.
I also think we probably overstate like the Fangio-ness of it all, like especially what they put on the field on Sunday. Like they're clearly trying different things than they were doing under Desai to no effect. And we saw all those 5-man fronts in this game, the Reddick dropping stuff. I just like what I said at the time is what I believe to still be true, that like the panic nature of that move is not something that a healthy organization would do. And I know you could point to Buffalo moving, giving Joe Brady the play calling. I think that is different for reasons we don't need to get into, but like the steady hand thing that we talked about with Fletcher Cox, like if you are showing that level of panic to the rest of the building at that situation, at that point in time in the season, when I think you need to show a steadiness, I just think it was like the beginning of the end. Not even the beginning of the end. The beginning of the end was the Christian Ellis thing. But
so let's actually get to that. Yeah. So let's get to that conversation.
Well, I think we should save the Sirianni conversation for tomorrow.
Okay, I was going to save the resting players for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which one do you think? Let's workshop the show today.
I think the Sirianni thing is a longer conversation.
Okay.
I think we've got a show tomorrow that doesn't have any Eagles availability between it. We're in the morning tomorrow.
Sure.
Plus, I put worth resting in the headline for this episode.
Well done.
So let's have the resting conversation.
Yes, and a little tease for tomorrow. We're going to talk about a previous headline. If for our passionate, loyal audience, you can.
Tomorrow we are going to fully unpack the Sirianni. How much is he under fire? We'll get into that tomorrow.
So the worth resting conversation. It was framed to Sirianni yesterday that would you consider sitting some of these guys, and he didn't say no.
Yeah, he was more open to it than I would have expected.
Sure. So to give the quick 20-second scenario here, the Eagles and the Cowboys are playing at the same time. The Cowboys are playing the Commanders. They're double-digit favorites against Washington. If Dallas wins, and I know you can't take anything for granted, but if Dallas wins the NFC East, the Eagles are locked into the 5 seed, which means they would be on the road against the NFC South winner, and the NFC South winner is Tampa Bay if they beat Carolina, or if Tampa Bay loses to Carolina, then it's the winner of the New Orleans-Atlanta game. So these things are, so you don't know at kickoff whether or not you still have a chance to win the NFC East or not.
What is Zach Berman, the travel aficionado, rooting for here? New Orleans? Gotta be.
Oh, no. In the playoffs, what you're focused on is convenience.
Ease of travel?
Yeah, I shouldn't say convenience. Ease of travel
Atlanta,
because you need to get back the next morning in case there's in case they lose and it's the locker room.
So Atlanta,
day.
Most flights in and out of Atlanta
or Tampa. Yeah, Atlanta or Tampa. New Orleans is tough. New Orleans. I think of the game 2 years ago. That was a really. Oh, I'm sorry, not 2 years ago. The game 5 years ago now. That was a really quick turnaround. Did you make it back?
I did, but this is a big part of your life, that game.
Oh yeah. It's my daughter's birthday next week, a week from today, and she was born in between the Chicago,
double doink,
and the New Orleans
and
game.
the Alshon drop.
So
she was born in between those games, and you still went to New Orleans,
and I still went to Chicago. Yeah, so Chicago was tougher. My wife's due date was around the corner, and fortunately, Chicago is very easy to get to. I flew that morning. It was a 4:25 game, fortunately. I flew that morning to Chicago, and then I was able to get a flight out of Midway that night. This was when I was at the Inquirer, so I didn't have any late-night pods at that time.
And famously, you knew you would have the rest of your life with those kids.
So I got back, and then I was safe for a few days. I was on TV on Wednesday, And
what a flex, an unnecessary flex.
well, no, but that's when
It's like,
my
well, I happened to be on TV that week.
no, my
Okay.
phone was buzzing while I was on TV.
Oh, okay.
And Amy Fadul, who I was on the set with, shout out to Amy, said, "Is that the call?" And I said, "I gotta go." And I went, and so then so
that was Wednesday.
This was Wednesday,
Okay.
and I feel like I'm giving away far too much information here. But then, so then, fortunately,
When did you fly?
I flew Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah, I went to New Orleans Saturday.
God bless Emily.
And covered that Eagles Saints game. And I wrote actually a good feature on Foles and Breeze in a coffee shop in New Orleans when I got down there. Remember that? That was a good trip. I saw Rodney.
I remember I was sick. I was under the weather. I was writing a big Jason Peters feature that I then saved for like a month later.
I remember that. Good job. That feature came out during the combine.
I didn't even remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
We weren't even working together.
Yeah, I remember all your stories. So, anyways, we went down that rabbit hole because you said, where do you want? I think Tampa and Atlanta would probably be the most conducive. Now, I am expecting, there's a strong chance, I think this game could be on a Monday night.
Yeah.
So for our audience, think about that possibility.
Because it sort of has to be the 4-5. And so it'll either be that or Cleveland, right?
It's likely Cleveland versus the AFC South. So the networks are looking at it. This is a primetime game. Would you rather the Eagles and the Bucks?
Probably.
Or would you rather Michael Dunn and Joe Flacco against Trevor Lawrence or CJ Stroud?
Okay, so knowing all of that, what would you do? Would you rest guys?
Well, no, not to start. Now, you keep in mind that there's some guys you can kind of don't have to play. Like I wouldn't play Devontae Smith this weekend. He's dealing with the injury. You can have certain guys inactive. But no, I don't rest guys. I play guys, but you're getting alerts throughout the game. And if Dallas is leading by a healthy margin, then that's when I pull. I don't want to frame it the important players, but whether it's veterans or your quarterback, guys you can't afford to get injured, or guys who take on a heavy workload and maybe need some time off their legs. Some of your older players. That's the approach I would take. But you can't sit everybody, of course. You only have 47 guys.
Right. Like it's not a preseason game. Yeah. You can't just sit guys. There's only 6 or 7 inactives, and you're not going to ask everybody to play every snap. So there are limited things that you can do. I think it means that everybody who is like really dealing with something and is on the fence, like a Devontae Smith, whatever he's going through right now, you sit those guys. You play it smart with those guys. I do think there is like the likelihood that you could play a clean enough game that's going to make everybody feel good versus the importance of like, what if you did get some rest for guys who clearly are tired? I mean, like the defensive line, which has been just completely ineffective over the past month or so. Like, could Josh Sweat use a week off? Probably, although to be fair, he doesn't have a sack since his last bye. Would it make sense to sit Jalen Hurts or Lane Johnson?
As Steve in the chat points out, don't forget the field conditions. MetLife Stadium is notorious for having bad turf, and also it's supposed to snow, I believe. Right? So you're,
I kind of lean towards I would not play Jalen Hurts.
Wow, that's it.
Like
just you would just say we're just going to take the 5 seed, and if we win this game and Dallas loses this game, all the better. But let's go into this with this assumption.
And I think that is like a decision they probably can't make, sort of PR-wise. Like if they do that and then lose, it's like, what were you thinking? But I think their best chance of making a real run, I think I would sit Lane Johnson, I would sit Jason Kelce, I would sit Jalen Hurts, I would sit, Fletcher Cox and Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat.
Which of these two have more merit? You have the chance to win the NFC East still, or you need to enter the postseason with momentum and show that you're getting right.
Well, to me, what matters more is still the chance of winning the NFC East, even as unlikely as it is. But I don't know. You should still be able to beat the Giants with Marcus Mariota playing, right? There's a good chance.
And then
it's not like you're taking a loss.
I'm not even trying to do an Opie optimist or a spin zone
I don't
here?
feel I don't feel strongly about that. I think that's the way that I lean,
Okay.
but I don't. It's not like it's not a take that I have written in stone.
I'm not trying to do an Opie optimist or a spin zone routine here. I'm simply asking this honestly, disregarding the possibility that a higher seeded team could lose, okay, and that you can have a second home playoff game. If the option is only home playoff game against Los Angeles, who's won 5 of 6 games going into this weekend against San Fran, I assume they'll win 6 of 7 because San Fran's resting guys; they're locked into the number 1. Or a road playoff game against the NFC South, which is dreadful this year, or I should say, really bad, not dreadful. It's been worse. Which would you rather?
Just for one game?
For one game.
Well, but that, I mean, you can't really divorce that. Like, it is more important to have the path to maybe getting 2 wins
because you're presumably the 3 seed in that case, and then you only have that second playoff game if Detroit that second home playoff game if Detroit loses.
Yeah, but you'd also rather go to Detroit than
go to San Fran in the second round. I
would still rather be the 3.
Me too, and I agree. I would rather play the NFC South on the road than the Rams at home, but I would
everything else after that.
I would rather avoid San Francisco in round 2. And I hear the argument that you're going to have to see them eventually, but maybe not, right? Maybe.
Well, but also then like to go from, Monday night probably in Tampa, then back to Philly, then across the country to San Francisco. That's tough.
But like maybe Dallas beats San Fran in round 2, and you're and you beat Detroit on the road, and then all of a sudden, you're hosting. All of a sudden, again, I do say it a lot now. That's and now you're hosting.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put that bug in your head.
And now you're hosting Dallas in the NFC Championship. I know we're like 30 exits too far down the road.
I know for this team that is like most likely if they had to beat like the Panthers tomorrow, they would lose. But
I was listening to and this I know we're tight on time here. I was listening to the Kelsey podcast when they had Donna Kelsey and Ed Kelsey and Kylie Kelsey on, and they were telling a story one time how Jason was left at a rest stop, and they got onto the freeway or the interstate, and the next exit wasn't for like 30 miles.
No way.
And so they had to make a U-turn. But Ed Kelsey got out of the car and he ran back to the rest stop.
Interesting.
And Donna Kelsey said that.
And this is pre-phones, obviously.
Yeah, Donna Kelsey said that Ed ran 2 miles, and Jason and Travis are like, there's no way that man ran 2 miles. And they said this story keeps getting more. Eventually it's going to be he ran all the way back to Cleveland.
Right.
No, I bring that up as way of saying when I said that this is like 30 exits down the road. Like I can't imagine having to turn around and the next exit's 30 miles away. Right. And you're like, oh, goodness. Yeah. So.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a lot to talk about tomorrow. But for now, we are going to pivot to getting Fletcher Cox on in just a minute. Before we do that, we got to talk about Bagels & Co. I had a bagel this morning. Great way to start the day. New year, let's be healthy. And I actually think that Bagels & Co. is a good bagel option for you if you're leaning into those resolutions, because let's say you're like allotting yourself like 1 bagel a week or something like that. You might as well get bang for your buck. Get a huge bagel.
I like
which
that.
They have at Bagels & Co. And it's cost affordable. So if part of your resolution is to spend less money, Bagels & Co. has you on that front as well. Bagels & Co. is bringing you Brooklyn-style bagels made in Philly. And as I said, they've got these enormous bagels. They've got 15 to 20 different types to choose from daily. They've got their seasonal bagels. They've got a large variety of cream cheeses and schmears. And as I said, they are affordable. They've talked about this. Should we raise our prices? But no, they want to be an everyday brand and not some high-end place you go to splurge on the weekends. Bagels & Co. is hooking you up. So for the best Brooklyn-style bagels made right here in Philly, go to www.thebagelsandco.com/store-locator to find the closest Bagels & Co. near you. Hook yourself up. All right, Zach. Anything else on your mind before we get Fletcher in here?
No, this is going to be a fun conversation tomorrow and these next few days. The Eagles are back at practice Tomorrow we are on before that. They have a
10 o'clock show tomorrow.
A walkthrough. Will monitor the Devontae Smith injury. We'll monitor the status of Avonte Maddox. We didn't get into Hassan Reddick dropping so much today. We can do that tomorrow or later on this week. But just real quick, because we did mention it on the show afterwards, I looked at the numbers. Hassan Reddick dropped more into coverage in this game than any time in his Eagles career, and he took his lowest percentage of, not his fewest snaps, but his lowest percentage of pass rush snaps in his time with the Eagles. And because it was kind of framed, I asked Sirianni about this the other day, and Sirianni said he's paid to rush the quarterback. They need to rush the quarterback. He said other than those 7 times he was rushing the quarterback. The thing is this: Arizona ran the ball a lot. They didn't have a lot of dropbacks. So when you just look at the amount of actual,
Right, 7 of those is my
exactly. So it's not like 7 out of 50 snaps that he dropped back. Oh, I'm sorry, that he dropped in the coverage. It's 7 out of the amount of Kyler Murray dropbacks. So that's something to keep in mind.
All right. Well, with that in mind, we are going to pivot now. We talked to Fletcher Cox just before the show started. We're going to listen to that now, and then we'll talk to you tomorrow. So enjoy that from Big Fletch. All right. Joined now by the captain himself, Fletcher Cox, from his home. Fletch, how you feeling these days?
I'm a little sore this time of the year. As you can see, I'm just still hanging out at the house right now. Besides that, everything's going to take care of itself.
You know the fan base. You have dealt with it for a long time. You know how they are probably feeling after this loss. How different is it for you guys in the building? What is sort of the temperature of the team at this moment?
Well, Coach gave us off yesterday, and obviously Tuesday is our normal days off. So we was actually not, he gave us the days off and some time, which I respect because I think as a leader, as a captain, as a guy that's been in this city for a long time, we need to think about what went wrong on Sunday at 1:00. Was it embarrassing? It was, to say the least. Was not expecting the outcome of that, but we've been taking it on the chin lately, and we got to get better.
Fletch, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The way the Cardinals played was not what any of us expected. What was the biggest issue on defense and the run defense in particular?
I don't know. That's a tough one. I think we gave up 200 some yards on the ground, which to me is completely embarrassing as a player. I first need to go back and really evaluate myself and see what I could have done better. What could I have done better during the week? Go back and look at the way that I prepared for the game, and then take it from there.
Yeah, I think the run defense is something that obviously everybody is talking about. We saw some different things in this game. A lot of those 5-man fronts, which I guess were not as effective as they may have been intended to be. How does the run defense get better? I know you talked about it a little bit, but is that just sort of like, every man has to step up on his own, or is there some scheme stuff that can be done?
No, that's going to be the mentality. There's no scheme, there's no magic calls. There's going to be nothing special that Matty P is going to call in this upcoming game that's going to magically happen and change things. Stopping the run is an attitude. I feel embarrassed myself and to let a team come in our house and rush for 200 plus yards and almost 500 yards of offense. So there's going to be an attitude. Stopping the run is an attitude, and our attitude, I think as a team, what needs to change if we, as a defense, if we want to fix this and make a run at this. We dug ourselves from this hole right now. Looks like we're going on the road. So we got to see how the chips fall.
I know there weren't as many dropbacks as there typically might be, but in these past 3 games, you guys have 4 sacks. What needs to be done to get the pass rush going?
We just got to win our one-on-ones. Everybody just got to check their box. All the good players, including myself, got to be good. When we can't let these offenses frustrate us by getting the ball out quick, straining us. And the biggest thing for us also too is if we're going to rush, we got to get teams a second and pass, third and pass. and not in second and 2 to 3 and third and 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, where the playbook's kind of open. So we just got to be better, include me, myself included, which I never exclude myself from anything because I'm a guy in that locker room too, and I know we'll be better.
The flip side there, Fletch, is like you get the third and longs have been historically, not very good for the team this year, especially compared to how good you guys were on third down defense last year. Is that another thing that is just like you have to sort of hope that everybody can take it upon themselves to just do a better job individually?
I mean, I know collectively we all be better, right? And I know individually each guy is going to challenge themselves, which I know Coach will challenge everybody. Everybody going to challenge themselves, look themselves in the mirror, to myself, what I do is, I don't take this finger and do that. I take this finger and do this. I point it at myself. I'm real with myself. I'm honest with myself, and I got to be part of helping us fix the problems that we have.
That was good camera work too. You really, that was professionally done.
Yeah, you got to take it from here and just point it at myself.
That's good.
Yeah, and to build on that, that's part of the thing I'm seeing too. When there's frustrated players, and there are frustrated players in there. Sometimes the perception is that they're frustrated at like other people, whereas what I see often is they're frustrated because they want to be the ones who can fix it. Like they want more opportunities, or they want to be in that position to fix it. How do you address the frustration that might be building, given the fact that you guys are struggling right now?
Well, the thing is you find a guy, you grab a guy that's frustrated with anything. It could be whatever. They don't feel like they're getting enough chances, and you just grab him and talk to him, right? Just I always tell myself, and I might say this wrong. I think Coach T Rock always said, just go be the reason why we winning, right? Don't be the reason why we're losing. Be a part of it, right? Be a part of the team. It's about us, and that's what we got to stick to doing, right? We've won 11 games. We've lost 5 games. We've lost to, let's be honest, 2 of the worst teams in the NFL. And those are games that we started slow, and they just kind of hang around. And I heard a long time ago, you let bad teams hang around, bad things happen. And that's the honest God, the truth. But we got to be better, we will.
Zach talked about the player frustration, and we talked about how well this fan base, and that when the team is struggling like it is over the past month, some of the focus goes to the coaching staff, and do they have what it takes to help turn this thing around? For you as a player in the locker room, what is your reaction to the focus being put on Nick? Like, does Nick still have the pulse of the team?
Absolutely, he always got the pulse of the team. Every player in that locker room, in that building, they respect him a lot. And I know Nick will have a good message for us tomorrow about us sticking together. Not singling nobody out, holding everybody accountable, keeping this team together. Because hey, listen, we still got a chance at this thing, right? But it's got to probably gonna have to be done on the road. I know the fans are upset. We apologize to them because we got the best fans in sports. It don't matter what the sport is. We got the best fan in sports, and like I just said, man, we put ourselves in this hole, and now we got to try to do this thing on the road.
And to build on that, you can always count on Brandon Graham as for kind of like the positive spin on some of these things. And what he was saying in the locker room after the game is that once you get in the playoffs, it's like 0-0. Everything resets. In your experience, and you've had a lot of different postseasons, does it matter how you play going into it, or is it the type of thing that once you're there, everyone starts over and it's just who plays better for that final month?
Absolutely. It is. That's what it's about. Look at us a couple of years ago where, we had a chance to kind of, to kind of go back to the NFC Championship. Where we won a game on the road, came close to winning the division round against New Orleans. We were like 1 or 2 plays away from there, from going back to a conference championship. So, those are things that you look at. Those are things you think about. And I think, with this team having to do this on the road, I think it's going to bring us so much more and more closer, knowing how focused we have to be, knowing that we're going to be, always going on the road and having, to deal with another team's home crowd. We just got to silence the noise, focus on us. Once we get in this playoffs, make it 0-0, like BG said, and look at all the positive from it. Take all the positive from this long season and this journey that we've been on the last month. sit back, and enjoy it, right? But take it into the postseason and take all the positive things and get back on the road.
With this Sunday in mind, and thinking that you are probably going to be on the road in the playoffs unless the Cowboys lose to the Commanders, is there a part of you that is like, should we, like the veterans on this team, we might need the rest this week, or do you want to go out there and play against the Giants?
That's not my call. That's not my call at all.
You're not going to say no to
sure
rest,
we'll
I guess.
Definitely won't say no to race, especially not at this part of the season. But
Sure.
like I said, we did this to ourselves, and now we got to face the consequences.
And as a follow up to that, you guys have been in situations before where another game going on at the same time kind of determines things. I think back to, I think it was Washington in 2018 maybe. Are you the type that is keeping your eye on the scoreboard to see what's happening in that Washington Dallas game, or are you only going to find out if someone tells you, or at the time you walk into the locker room after the game?
All right, let's be honest. They're not going to be showing that score update at MetLife. They definitely won't be showing. They definitely won't be showing that. So, I hope Sam Howell's plays with on fire and have a good game.
And then in the playoffs, the good news is you get Big Dom back on the sidelines.
Oh man, it's really good gonna be good to see him on the sidelines, and I know it's been killing him these last few however many games, but we're looking forward to getting him back on the sidelines and basically get this team back to where it needs to be, to the level of a play that we know we can play it.
All right. Well, Fletch, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this week. Good luck on Sunday, and we will talk to you next Tuesday.
All right, man. Thank you. Y'all take care.
And that'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Thanks to everybody for listening and joining today's episode. Thank you to Baldy and Fletcher Cox for taking the time. Thanks to Julia for producing. For Zach, I am Bo. We will talk to you tomorrow at 10 a.m., bright and early, a Zach special. We look forward to that. And until then, we'll talk to you later. As always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.